Welcome back to the Mara News Desk at Bitcoin 2024, powered by Bitcoin Magazine. I'm your host, Pete Rizzo, editor of Bitcoin Magazine. Got a new round of special guests here. Of course, one needs no introduction, Mr. Michael Saylor, executive chairman of MicroStrategy, and then Mike Germano, president of Bitcoin Magazine. You know him from the stream earlier today. And folks, we've got a special announcement, one of the first from 3 days at Bitcoin 2024. Mike, I'll hand it over to you for the big news.
Yeah, thank you. So back in Vegas when MicroStrategy had MicroStrategy World and Bitcoin for Corporations, we were excited to partner with them to not only stream the content, but work with them on who's speaking and all the connecting a bunch of Bitcoiners to what was going on. It was such a success, we started talking and we said, hey, what's the best way for us to help corporations on board, understand Bitcoin? We have such an unbelievable community here at the conference, and these are all people who want to go back and bring that to their businesses. So after some great conversations, we decided that Bitcoin Magazine and MicroStrategy are partnering on Bitcoin for Corporations. So this will be an organization which are going to connect, we'll be able to connect these professionals, we'll be able to give them tools and resources to understand how they can adopt that, what they can do. We have everything from Bitcoin Magazine Pro that provides all the analytics, and more importantly, building a community. The best thing here is there's all these people who are not only just orange pilled, but they're passionate about it. How do we connect them? How do we know what they can do at the companies that they're working at? And these are for publicly listed companies as well. And really, all the success that MicroStrategy has had, what have they learned that we can do? Because we've had 10 years of trying to teach the world about Bitcoin, but MicroStrategy has unbelievable knowledge that they can help us and really bring so many great Bitcoiners together.
Yeah, of course, the playbook has proven hugely successful. MicroStrategy owns over 200,000 Bitcoin. We've seen a wave of companies follow suit: Block, Semler Scientific, Metaplanet, others. Michael, maybe you can just talk about this response you've seen, how we're broadening this with this partnership.
Yeah, I think 2024 is year one of mainstream institutional adoption of Bitcoin. So clearly the momentum's picked up. I get a lot more calls from public company CEOs. I'm invited to talk to boards more often, and quite a few times now. And we think that now's the right time for this partnership because there's a whole lot of work that we've done. We've done a lot of macroeconomic modeling to look out at the macroeconomy over the next decade and come up with Bitcoin models. And then we've done micro modeling to look at any given corporation, and if you plug in the debt and the equity and the cash flows of a company and the market cap, you can calculate the appropriate Bitcoin strategy, and then you can explain it to your board. We've done a lot of work on the accounting. FASB accounting has come, and fair value is just now become something that's elective this year. We've done a lot of work on investor relations. How do you communicate this to your investors, especially if you're a public company? How do you build consensus among the officers and the directors? And then there's a lot of work on the legal nuances, the disclosures, and then finally the execution. People go, well, how do I buy it? How do I custody it? And how do I do risk management on it? So these are things that we spent 4 years working on, but every company has the same exact questions. And so we think it would be a shame not to share that playbook with 50,000 public companies, and of course there's 50 million decent-sized private companies out there. They all have the same exact problem, and they need the same set of tools.
So is it safe to say the dream here is a MicroStrategy in every country around the world, even bigger than that, Mike?
Well, I think the dream is every company find a way to recapitalize on Bitcoin for the benefit of their shareholders, their customers, their employees, so they can make better products and services.
Excellent. And we've obviously seen a warming of attitudes. Obviously, we talked about on this desk earlier. The Warren Buffett's a little bit less quiet in the room these days. Jamie Dimon, we've even heard, changing their tune. Maybe let's talk about these headwinds, this just positive sentiment. Obviously, this conference, we've got two major presidential candidates here. Michael, how much is this helping your evangelism amongst corporations?
I think the challenge is always to get people to notice. I mean, they say in politics, you got to say something 42 times before people know what you said. And so now that you've got major political figures on the national stage coming here to Bitcoin in Nashville, I think you've got media attention. You've got a lot of politicians, a lot of journalists, a lot of business leaders, a lot of community leaders that are stopping and spending a few minutes to think about what this means, and now they're asking the right questions.
Mike, your take?
Well, I think, if you build it, they will come. Let's look what we did in 2021. Remember when Michael Saylor was on stage and there was such unbelievable energy there when people were looking at how he was approaching Bitcoin for a publicly traded company. And now we're going to have 20,000 plus people that are going to be here at this conference. All the news, all the companies around the world that are making all their Bitcoin announcements this week. We really have the attention of not just the niche media, which is the crypto world, but the kind of global media, the people that are coming to this event. And I'll tell you how many of them, we keep trying to just walk around this conference center and everyone's asking us, how do I bring Bitcoin to my company? How do I become a Bitcoiner?
Right.
And if we've had 10 years of telling people, hey, this is the tools to become a Bitcoiner. Here's where to buy it, here's how to, and here's how to connect with other Bitcoiners.
Right.
How do we do that at a much larger scale for corporations, which need a lot more information?
I was going to say, is this a top-down movement, a bottom-up movement? If you're at a corporation now and you're a passionate Bitcoiner, how do they make change with these materials that we're producing?
I think it's a bit of all those things. Sometimes it's big shareholders that are going to the management team saying they want the company to adopt a Bitcoin strategy. Sometimes it's coming from the directors at the board level that are lobbying for the management team to adopt a Bitcoin strategy. Sometimes it's an inspired executive at the company. That might be the CEO, it might be the CFO. And then sometimes it's an employee that's a Bitcoiner, a Bitcoin maximalist that looks at their company and they see the company is struggling, but it could benefit enormously. And so they're bringing the idea up the chain of command.
Do you have a sense of, we've talked about the playbook, you've talked about all the facets, if you're a company, where do you start? Do you have an idea of, here's how you start bringing Bitcoin to your company?
Well, that's exactly why we're engaged in this partnership. Yep. Our thought is, let's give people a website and then let's organize a set of materials, the right playbook, the right legal, accounting, process, execution, advice, and also let's give them the ability to reach other people, either other business executives that have already gone down that path, or reach the legal professionals or the accounting professionals or the business process professionals or the custodians and exchanges that can provide this kind of service at an institutional grade level. And we want to create a one-stop shop and make it easy.
And what we've seen is there's so many partners out there to help companies do this, but a lot of times people could want to have it at their company, they don't even know who to turn to. They don't know who's trusted, and they honestly don't want to maybe risk their job making a wrong judgment on a partner. So once again, proof of work is very important. We've seen the companies that have done this in the space. We want to make sure that every other company knows who's had success, who to turn to, right? And where a company starts is different for everybody. And even though we have the playbook, what MicroStrategy did, the time they've invested, there's a bunch of different approaches to that. We're seeing companies all over the world now test this out and try it. It's our job at Bitcoin Magazine to report on that, to understand that better. But how do we now turn that into something to really help companies move forward with this? And that's what we've been exploring, and we're excited to show the world.
We're winding down here. Of course, a lot of excitement to come. We'll have Robert F. Kennedy Jr. tomorrow on stage. We'll have Donald J. Trump on Saturday. I want to talk a little bit about the regulatory environment. We touched on it a little bit, but how much could a positive U.S. regulatory environment help an initiative like what we're putting together here with MicroStrategy for Corporations?
I think a positive regulatory environment is going to be a tremendous boost to the space. I think that Bitcoin got a huge boost with the approval of spot ETFs in the US in January. Now we're up to 39 ETFs around the world. So every time a new jurisdiction like Australia or Hong Kong or Germany approves an ETF, it gives us another boost. I think there's a big movement afoot to let banks into the business, let banks custody their
SAB
own Bitcoin.
121, of course, yeah.
Yeah, repeal SAB 121, and the support of the FDIC, the OCC, and the SEC, which is, I think it's inevitable. It's just a question of when, not if. That's going to accelerate adoption quite a bit as well. So we've got a set of milestones. They're going to come. They're probably going to come over the next 12 months. And each one of those just reduces friction and risk and accelerates the Bitcoin journey for corporations and institutional adopters.
And not only that, but now just the public awareness of a topic like this. You know, President Trump 2 years ago might have said that, you know, Bitcoin was a Ponzi scheme, and now all of a sudden he feels orange-pilled. He's talking about this topic. All the people that are part of the party, are part of their movement, that now are giving Bitcoin a second look. Mainstream culture is changing. We just saw even Kamala Harris and her conversation saying her campaign is thinking differently, clean slate about crypto, clean slate about regulations. So being able to push, let everyone know that this is something that can be accepted, talked about, whether it's regulations or not, people wanting to accept this. And now all of a sudden we have, 2 out of the 3 major candidates that are running for president that want to come here to address Bitcoiners and say, this is how we can help your community. This is why we believe in what you're doing. I mean, I think the proof is in the media coverage of this event alone.
Well, of course, the rumors that Kamala Harris might attend, of course, not attending now. Michael, curious for your take. Is there a sense that this regulatory environment is going to change for the positive regardless of the administration, or do you think Bitcoiners should be plugged into this election?
I think there's a fair wind blowing for Bitcoin regardless. I really can't see any administration in the future not embracing Bitcoin. It's not really a question of whether they'll be pro-Bitcoin. It's a question of how aggressively they'll move, how fast they'll move, and whether they move with alacrity or whether they move a bit more deliberately. But I think that we passed an inflection point in January of 2024, and at that point it became clear Bitcoin is the institutional grade digital asset. And as Larry Fink has said, it has a place in every portfolio. It's got enormous global appeal. It's something which is unique, and the world needs more of it. And so from this point, it's really just a question of education, and there's a lot of moving parts in the global financial apparatus. There's a lot of regulators, and every regulator's got 20 different switches they got to flip. They're all going to flip over the next 4 years. The question is, over the next 4 months, over the next
an orange wave maybe cresting in November, 4 years. And it sounds like we have a landing page now. People can learn more at home if they want to understand what we're doing with Bitcoin for corporations.
Sure.
Mike?
Yeah, so go to b.tc/corporations. That would be kind of where we have a landing page. We're going to be providing that information. There's a lot more to come, as you can imagine. With everything we've been doing with the conference, we need a little break, and obviously a lot more information after that. So part of the goal was to get this out because as we're meeting with so many companies that are here, all these conversations, we knew that this was a conversation we need to have, and we wanted to make sure we gave them a place to let them know what we're doing, how they can be a part. We invite all companies that are interested in this, interested about putting Bitcoin, whether on their balance sheet or they're interested in seeing the playbook, to reach out to us and start building that community with us.
All right, well, special announcement, Bitcoin Magazine and MicroStrategy will be right back on the Bitcoin news desk here at Bitcoin 2024. Word from our sponsors.